Up YouTube. Oh, I got a bunch of like oil or something on my phone. Hold on a second. That looks a whole lot better. Well, guess what? Just a real quick video today, talking about like why I chose Jesus. Well, basically, it's truly simple. When I was in high school, I was very curious about all of the religions. I ended up getting in trouble, which was normal, but I ended up getting suspended for a week due to a fight. And so during this week, I went and stayed at my bro Sean Swayze's parents' house because I didn't want to go back to my parents because I knew they were going to kill me. So I went and stayed with my bro's family, and during this time, all these birds, shut up. All during this time, they were like, "We're not going to make this a vacation for you. You're actually going to work." So I had to be up early in the morning, and there was this older gentleman that they wanted me to go work for. And so that's what I did. I worked during that week, and this is when I started to become curious about all the religions. Now, I myself am Seventh Day Adventist. Basically, one of our belief systems, or one of our beliefs is, like you go to church on Saturday. A lot of us don't eat meat. That's where we're mainly known for, is that most of us are vegetarians and or vegan, but definitely no pork. Like I said, go to church on Saturday. Jesus coming back. He died and rose. There's a bunch of different stuff. If you want to know, message me, talk to me. But that's not why we're here. I'm talking about why I chose Jesus, not the religion. So during this week, I was, like I said, cleaning up his basement. He had like books, like holy moly, just so many books. Ugh, like I don't know what it is about rich people and books, man. Like they just got a lot of books. I mean, I learned a lot from him because that's why I have a lot of books, and I feel like I'm rich in knowledge. See what I did there? Bam. Anyways, so in some of these books, though, he had a lot of religious books. He had stuff on Buddha. He had stuff on Muhammad. He had stuff. What's that one religion? Wiccan. He had stuff on the Jehovah's Witness. He had stuff on the Mormons. And I mean, throughout that week, I read a lot of those books. Because if y'all know me, you know I hate reading. I read the Bible and text messages and every now and then Facebook stuff. But like, I hate reading unless it's like something I'm truly interested in. And during this week, I don't know, I just got super like intrigued by religion. Like, why is it that I choose to follow Jesus when there's like the Quran and there's just so many other things that sound almost exactly the same and have similarities? A lot of religions are pretty similar. There's one deity, and then there's everything else that falls under it, and then there's the people where we fall. Like, everybody's got their own take on the whole thing. But why did I choose Jesus? So I think back to, thank you, God, for removing those birds. Hey. All right, so I think back to a time when I was probably like 8 or 9. My dad, every morning, he woke us up, and at 5 o'clock, he'd be like 5:15. Early bird catches the worm. Early bird gets to hear dad talk and try not to fall asleep. Yeah, my sister knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, so 5 o'clock comes. Dad, hey, everybody wake up. We're about to do morning devotion. I'm like, all right, go in the living room, watch a quick episode of Inspector Gadget as my dad gets ready for him to go to work. And me and my sister just kind of like, Inspector Gadget, woohoo. We're kind of like laying there. And what was that other show we watched? Sailor Moon, you know what I'm saying? And so, my dad turned TV off after those two shows go, and then he'd pull out the Bible, start telling us the Bible stories, all the Genesis and the David and Goliath, and sometimes he'd get into the deep stuff, and I'm like 8, so that means my sister's 5, and we're both looking at him like, what does that even mean? No, but it's cool because we learned a lot at a very young age. We were very knowledgeable when it came to like the Bible and just other information you would have never guessed some like young kids would know. But there's this one particular story in the Bible that has stuck with me, and it was the story of Elisha. I be getting them guys mixed up. It's like two dudes with the same name. Like imagine Keith and Keith. Like you just, you know what I mean? So anyway, the prophet was there, and basically got called out. It was like, what makes you think your God's the God of? I'm pretty sure it's Elijah. Pretty sure that's who this was. Everybody was like, oh man, let us have a contest, basically a contest to see which God would prevail, basically. And so this is what they do. I've been looking over here. Anyway, so what they do in this contest is basically they call out on their gods. So you have Elijah or the prophet. I'm gonna just say the prophet because I don't want to misquote the Bible. That's just wrong. But you got the one prophet, the prophet of God, and then you have the prophet of Baal. I would just say. And so basically they have a contest. And in this contest, though, the prophet gets a little bit cocky. Like you don't see too many of God's people get like super cocky in the Bible, but when they do, it's always an amazing thing that follows. And so this prophet's all telling, let me just call him a magi. He's telling the magi like, hey, you know, if you truly believe in your idol, you truly believe in this false God, like if you honestly believe in him, pray to him. And so basically this contest was set that they'd have an altar and they drench it with water. They put water on it. And so the whole no. I messed up. Man, I got to the punchline already. Dang it. Sorry, I'm just so excited to tell this story that I just skipped ahead. Act like you didn't hear that last 15 seconds. Okay, so the prophet tells the magi, get an altar, tell your God to cast down fire from heaven. I feel like these guys were Hispanic because you see what I'm doing here? Just a bunch of hand movements, talking with their hands. That's probably how it went. All right, so anyway, tells him, hey, tell your God to cast down fire onto this altar, and then we will all like praise him and bow down to him, and you know, who's ever God can do it. So this guy, I imagine, the magi was looking at his friends like, all right, so you know when you ever got in trouble and you knew you was in trouble, but like say you lied to your parents and your friends and your siblings are looking at you and you know you lied, but you still kind of like, yeah, I believe it. You know, you kind of nervous. You're doing this whole thing with your feet. You know, you kind of like, no, yeah, yeah, I own a Lamborghini. Yeah, this is my Lamborghini. Yeah, I'm standing next to it. Yo, so I imagine that this guy's just standing there, just kind of like, oh snap, like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna go pray to Baal. Yeah, I got this. I'll be right back. So now they didn't have social media back then, but I imagine if there was Facebook Live, like everyone's tuning in right now. Everybody's on Instagram, everybody's on Periscope, just kind of like looking and just seeing like what is going to happen. You know, CNN's got their fake news heading across on the bottom of the screen. It's all like, you know, today David slayed Goliath, and it's like the new thing is to slay. Bad joke. Anyway, so yeah, he goes and prays, and he prays, and he prays, and here's where I was talking about the prophet was getting all like cocky. He tells them to pour water on. I mean, like, no, I messed it all up. Told him, you know, shout louder. Maybe can't hear you. And you know, I imagine this guy's like, oh please, I don't want to accidentally pray to Baal right now, so I'm not gonna do too much. But yeah, just oh please, blah 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 blah, blah whatever, humana humana. Probably sound like the Migos. Shavana havana ooh yeah, doesn't have a voodoo. Anyways, I think it went for like a whole day, right? For those who know this story, and well, no fire came down. So it's the prophet's turn, and now this is where it gets cocky. He tells them, go ahead and pour water on the altar. Bro, like when you got confidence, you remember I was talking confidence the other day? When you got confidence, oh, that is just a beautiful thing. Like when somebody ever tell you, oh man, I bet you $5. And you sitting there like, cool, bet. And you put that hand out to shake on it, and then they kind of give you that like, man, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't bet them $5. But you over here like, no, come on, $5, let's shake on it. $10 if you really about it. And they're over there like, oh man, Spoopy done called my my bluff. So basically, they soak the altar in water. And if it was nowadays, they'd have a fire truck and just dip the. He probably would have stuck the altar in the middle of the lake right here. Just bam, there it is. But like I said, he had that confidence in God. And this is what intrigued me. So I imagine when I was like 8 or 9 or however old, I'm sitting on the edge of the couch, kind of like awake now, because I'm like, wait a second, what the heck is going to happen? Obviously, dude's God didn't come through because, Baal, who the heck is Baal? But then it's like, I know the God that the prophet believes in, or at least I think I do. So I kind of want to see what happens. So my dad's telling the story. My dad's a great storyteller, so he's got the sound effects and the voices, and it's just amazing. And when it's the prophet's turn, the prophet praises God, and immediately, bro, like immediately, can you imagine? Oh my God. Immediately, like, I bet being there, the prophet's like looking at people, you know what I mean? Because that's what pastors do. If you watch pastors nowadays, they look to the people, like, God's up there and he's watching, but they're like, you can try to be engaging with the audience and tell a story and try to get you involved. So I imagine the prophet's just looking at the people, and then he shouts to God like, God. And I imagine though, because when you're doing this with your hands, you look. I made you look. No, you had to look because I turned the camera. But anyway, I just imagine that when he moved his hand, he probably kept his hands down, but when he was ready, he raised them up. Like, he was chilling, and then he, put the hands up like that. And so basically when it was time, he just went. And in the midst of that, like, I imagine that everybody had watched his hands go up. And then before he even called out to God, fire was already like, bro, you see what I'm saying? You seeing what I'm seeing? Like, fire's already like coming down, and he's like, Lord or God or whatever he says, and immediately it was just within that second, that whole thing caught on fire. And so I remember being like, oh my gosh, that's crazy, right? Like super crazy. This just blew my mind, for real. And so I'm sitting here like, all right. But of course, life took its turns, and I had some different things happen to me growing up, which kind of like darkened my eyes when it came to loving Jesus. Even though I did get baptized when I was 12, that was a whole forced thing, and just don't even want to talk about that. But that day, that week in academy, when I got suspended, and I was at that guy's house, I was sitting there reading all these different stories about Nefertiti, or I don't even remember, just the Mormon church and the Buddhists and all these different things. And it's like, why don't I believe in all these other things? It's because like that prophet, there have been so many times when I could have trusted in something else. You know what I mean? But nothing else. I even myself trusting in myself, and in the end, it didn't come through. But when I prayed to God, like every time, it was immediate. You know what I mean? And sometimes not even immediate. It happened a day later. Sometimes it happened a year later. You know, even looking at some of my life choices and some of the things that I wanted to happen for me, I've prayed for years and years and years, and only now are they starting to come to pass. And I'm like, the only way that this is happening is because of God. Like, you know what I mean? I think back to a song by Bizzle that says, "Thank you, Lord, for not letting what could have happened to me happen to me when I wasn't saved." So basically saying like he believes now, but there's so many things that should have happened to him that when he didn't believe, that God like spared him, that he had mercy on him. And that's how I feel like in my life. Like there's so many different things. And you know, if you follow my music, you know, I tell you, I'm a storyteller. I like to tell, you know, things that have happened to me and whatnot. And especially within this last year, I caught a pretty serious case. I caught pretty serious charges against me. And you know, normal person, the average Joe. I mean, I've seen, you know, people who caught the same exact charges don't even. There's no mercy. There's not even a who or a what or a question of anything. They end up going to jail, and then like that ends up being the rest of their life, even if they were innocent, or when they're innocent. And you know, I was fortunate enough, I was blessed enough that that wasn't the outcome in my situation, because I mean, when I say I prayed and I cried, you know, if you've never faced prison time, you don't know what it's like. And there was only one other time in my life that I ever faced time, and that was when I was in fourth grade. And yeah, just you know, God is good anyhow. You know, both situations. I just and of course, there's other things too that I have done in my life that God was merciful for, and or merciful to me. And although I know some things should have gone completely the other way, and some things that I've done that, like, you know, I still haven't caught the consequences for. And you know, like Bizzle said, thank you, Lord, for not letting what could have happened to me happen to me when I wasn't saved. Because now, I mean, it doesn't, just because you choose Jesus doesn't make your life gonna, it doesn't mean your life's gonna be easy. Because that's, I mean, if that was the case, everybody would be doing it. But you know, the easy thing is to follow the wide path. You know, follow the path that everybody's doing. You know, like I have a bunch of friends who's like, man, I mean, I know God's there, but he's like, I just don't really, you know, I love to drink, I love to smoke, I love to party, I love sex, I love this, that, and the other thing. Not really thinking about like the future. You know what I mean? My whole deal is, you know, on this side of 18, on this side of 25, you know, it's all about the future. What are you building? What are you working toward? You know what I mean? What's your end goal? And my end goal is like, you know, I want to live a life that, let's just say for 1 second, God is not real. Let's just say he's not. I know that's not true, but let's just say God is not real. At the end of my life, when I'm on my deathbed and I'm looking at my grandkids or whatever it is, and it's time for me to die, I want to be able to reflect and go, man, I lived a life worth living. I lived a life that I want my son and or my daughter and my grandkids and my great grandkids and everybody else to look and go, man, I want to be just like Grandpa Chan. Actually, at Jenkins, so I want to be just like old man Jenkins. But I don't want to have a life that it was like I was selfish, you know. I just lived a good life. Like there's no such thing. There's no good without God. Like literally, like there's just one extra O. You know what I mean? So why did I choose Jesus? I chose Jesus because, like like the prophet, like I said, confidence, man. Like I've seen so many times. There's been so many trials that have come up, and it's like the other way just wouldn't have worked. The only one that was going to win, or you know, was God. You know, in a lot of different situations, it's like God. I don't have to. I'm gonna tell you something. One thing with God and me and my relationship is like if I need it, man, I will randomly find a $10 bill. I'll randomly find $1. If I don't need it, I don't ever find any money, and I'll be looking for money. I'm like, you know, but I don't ever find it. But when I need it, it's like I always find a 10 or I find a 20. One time I found 80, and 80 ended up being the perfect thing because I needed to do something, and I was just like, man, God, you are just so awesome. Now, be careful though, because I will tell you that the enemy can bless you too, and you see this a lot with these artists, and I mean, they walk around, they got their chains and their Lambos and stuff. And I'm not against wealth. I am not. But I am against getting it for the wrong reasons and promoting the wrong stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people in the world, like our military. You know, I have a bunch of friends in the military. I have a bunch of friends that are police officers. I have a bunch of friends that are teachers. And all of them are just underpaid for what they do. Yet we got like basketball stars and rappers and singers just making ridiculous money, and obviously it's the vocation, you know, that's it comes with it. But it's like, man, I just think I don't know, it's so backwards. But that's all about that situation. But no, yeah, that's why I chose Jesus. He's because I know he's real. I got that confidence in him. I done seen what he can do. And if you've ever want to hear some crazy stories about my life in just the last year and how I even came up here to Oklahoma, like, man, I know this is one of the longer videos, but I'm going to end it with just this last story in case y'all don't hear anything else, in case you skip through the video and you're like right here. All right, so coming to Oklahoma, I know I've been complaining a lot on Twitter, just in general, but let me tell you how this happened. The idea came up, and I said, God, if you want me to move to Oklahoma, you have to do a couple things. Number one, you have to find me a job, and number two, you have to find me a church where I can play the piano. Well, found a job on Craigslist, my dream job. Number two, church needed a pianist. And those things I said in my head, I didn't put them out loud because the enemy can bless you too. So I was just making sure. So I'm like, all right. Decided to go ahead and move. I moved, and in my move, I got my car running. The same day I left, the engine blew up, and I was stranded for a week in North Texas. I had to live in my car for that whole entire week, and that Wednesday I stopped at a church because I was just hurt, man. I just lost my grandfather. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about when I say I know that God is real. This is what I'm talking about. I went to the church and I said, hey, I tried to talk to the pastor at this church, and he asked me, like, is there other stuff that you should be praying about? Are you sure there's not anything else you need help with? And blah, 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 blah. Just acting like because I told him, I was like, man, I'm just hurting, man. My car broke down. I lost my grandfather. I'm about to move. And he's like, isn't there other things that you might need to confess? And I'm like, dude, no, like, chill out, man. Like, I don't know. That whole situation made me mad, and I just cried because I'm like, man, that dude was super disrespectful, like super. This is like I needed somebody to pray with me and pray for me, you know. And it was like all of a sudden the janitor came out, and he's like, hey man, you all right? And I told him what just happened, and he shook his head and he prayed with me. The janitor did, and I went back. And there's this girl named Chanel Escobar or something like that. She worked at the gas station that my car was broke down at. And I told her what happened, and then her and I had become friends during that week. And then I just relayed the same message to her that he relayed to me. And then all of a sudden, it was like I had this light inside me. And the rest of the week, I was just straight up on fire. And I ended up meeting another guy who was stranded and yada yada. So anyway, end up getting driven, end up talking to him and getting towed up here to Oklahoma. And got here to Oklahoma. First day, I just slept. I was so tired from that whole week of just like an hour or two sleeping in my car because it was freezing cold. That a bunch of the people that are here in Oklahoma that I know or I met at church, they were all like, "We thought you were high." Like I'm just my eye. I'm always tired anyway, but just my eyes were just done. I couldn't even function. Like I slept all day. I probably smelled bad. Like I don't know. It was just a terrible time, and I prayed and I prayed. I'm like, God, I need a place to stay. I need my car fixed. This job I'm about to start, and just all of that, and God worked it out, like for real, like every little detail, every little detail. But even when God is working, no, Satan is trying to work 10 times harder against you. And with that job, man, that was just like that was like the best job I ever had in my life. Like I'd never done anything like that. And I mean, just to be able to reach to the kids and to be able to have that daily connection and be able to just like be able to reason, be able to see how they reason, and then like see or think back to when I was their age and be like, yeah, okay, I understand why they do that. And I can't get too mad. And there'd be days of a kid will punch you in the face, but then the next day the kid be like your BFF or whatever. Not necessarily, but I'm just saying, they'll try to be cool with you and whatnot. And just that mentorship, like God, I just love that. And then of course Satan has to come in. And about 6 months into my job, he weaseled his way in the way of a certain person, and that just, from there it was like the downfall. It was like, man, you know what? So basically, I had a Joseph and Potiphar's wife experience. I had a lady there that was craving for attention. Obviously, I didn't give it, and from there came the most ridiculous things you will ever hear in your entire life. And you know, just like with Joseph, Joseph's probably Joseph's going to be thrown away forever. And I didn't have no coat of many colors or nothing, but I have my character and the way my dad taught me. And there's certain things you don't do, and the things that I got blamed for. I sat there and I prayed. I'm like, God, you know the truth. And talking to detectives and just that whole time, and I got so low during this time. Like that's how Satan was beating me. He was just beating me over the back of the head, like bam, every morning, bam. It's like, listen here, you're not going to sleep. You're not going to sleep tonight. You're not going to eat. You're not going to do all the things you normally do. I'm going to give you a back injury because you're not taking care of yourself. So you're going to do something. You're going to lift wrong. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt your back. You're going to miss your belt test. And you know how much you've been working towards that brown belt. And you're going to miss your fight. And you're going to not have a job. You're going to be out of work. You're going to be missing money. You're going to fall behind on your bills. Just everything in your life I'm just going to destroy. And I sat there one night, and it was I remember it was October 5th. October 5th in the morning, I talked to my dad, and me and my dad, like, we just had some words, and I just didn't like what he said, and I went upstairs and I destroyed all my furniture. Like, that's why I haven't had anybody over. I literally destroyed my furniture. I was pissed. I was freaking pissed. Like, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna say what was said, but there was just I was mad. I was so mad. Oh my God, I've never been that mad in my life, and it was due to just not eating, not taking care of myself. I had a back injury, my S1 and all that. Like I just all of it. I was just so mad, and I'm like, you know what, God, I'm sorry, but I can no longer deal with this. I can no longer deal with the ridiculousness that I'm being framed and charged and all that. I was like, I'm sorry. I made my peace that morning. I talked to who I wanted to talk to, and that was a Thursday. That night, I was supposed to work at the club, and what I was gonna do is I was gonna work, and immediately after work, I was gonna drive to this place and just crash my car on purpose, like kill myself, obviously. And hold on. All right, because like I just felt like, even though I see, the reason why I say be careful when God's doing things for you is because you gotta keep that confidence. You gotta be still and know that He's God regardless of anything. And because Satan just beat me up, he like literally beat me up. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, tired, stressed. Like I couldn't function. And it's like the faith I knew to have, the faith that my grandparents taught me and my parents taught me, and all the faith that I've had throughout the years, and the reason why I knew I loved Jesus and I chose Jesus, like all of that just got put in the back because I just kept. It was like as soon as I could take a deep breath, as I say, just dunked me right back under the water. And if you've ever played with your brothers and sisters and they dunk you under the water, y'all, ooh, you just can't breathe and you're just trying to gasp. And that's freaking what I was trying to do. I was just trying to take a deep breath of air, but I could not. Like I was just like, you know what? Instead of letting somebody else drown me, I will drown myself. And so October 5th, that was going to be the day. I was like, you know what? It's 13 days before my birthday. Like this whole 13. It's like this is Satan's thing. Like I don't know, man. I can't do this. I just can't do it. And so I'm driving to work, and I'm sitting there and I'm nervous because I had basically I had this whole plan of how I was going to do it. And that whole morning I had been texting help. And if you don't know what that is, that's the hotline. You can text help, and they'll talk to you. And I talked to them all morning. I still had those text messages saved. And the lady was like, "Do you have a plan?" I'm like, "Yes, I have a plan." I was like, "I have to do this," and I told her what happened. And she sent me a bunch of automated stuff. I thought, and I just got so mad. And she's like, "It's not automated. We just have to ask questions." She's like, "Are you okay?" I told her my name is Kevin. She's like, "Kevin, are you all right? Are you still there?" And I'm like, "Yes."